Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Hudson, along with my co-host Greg Trainer, and we wanted to welcome you to the Accessible Hunter podcast. We're excited today for a guy that we have here in South Carolina. Man, he's become a good friend. We're blessed in that we're inundated with outdoor activities, but we're also inundated with guys like my buddy Jacob that we're going to bring in just a second. That his whole mission, his passion, and God's will has kicked in, and we are mind blown by the amount of outdoor activity and related vehicles in which we can get in front of people. But, Greg, dude, how's the weather and how are you doing in PA, man?
Dude, I'm doing really good. It's sunshine and 58 right now here in PA. So spring is definitely popping off. And I'm doing really good, man. I was struggling a little bit yesterday, Mike. I went up to the wound center and on the way back in my van, I was having some brake problems. I had it worked on last week. And man, if you've ever heard a clunk clunk clank in your van and you're still about 45 miles from home, and it was a little stressful, but everything's going good now, man. I'm having a great day, and I've been looking forward to this podcast with Jacob for a while because I've been following him online, and seems like I always like exactly what he's doing. But this is my first chance to get to talk with you, Jacob. So thank you for coming on the podcast with us.
Not a problem. I appreciate y'all having me.
You know, that's what's great, man, is the disability world's so small. These guys and girls out here, when you try to explain it to them, is like, you're going to cross paths with people that have like-minded passions. But at the same token, we all need to try to figure out how to highlight each other and work together. And for whatever reason, a lot of nonprofits and a lot of groups just do not want to work together. And I think it gets down to somebody's either worried their name's not going to be associated or it's a dollar. And that's kind of a shame. But either way, Jacob, brother, man, it is good to have you on today. And
I
for the
appreciate it.
folks that don't know you yet, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about how you end up in the disability world?
Sure. So my name is Jacob Beisecker, and Christmas Eve of 2020 was kind of the start of my whole inclusion into the disability community. So we were actually first ever duck hunt. Me and my brother, he'd kind of gotten into it a little bit. I'd always wanted to go, but duck hunting's one of those things where you kind of got to know what you're doing a little bit to kind of have some success. So it just wasn't anything we ever grew up with. And he found some buddies that got him into it. So we had made plans. The job I had at the time was pretty restrictive, so I didn't have many days off. The first day I had off was Christmas Eve of 2020. And so weather was crappy. We had the rest of our hunting party bailed on us. It was just me and him. And so we ended up going duck hunting that morning, killed a couple of ducks, got all excited, I got hooked. I mean, I've been crazy about it ever since, even regardless of what happened. But coming out of the woods that day, we basically got to a spot in a trailhead. He's about 5 years younger than me. He was still in college and in good shape. I had started to go elsewhere and be
Yeah.
needed a little bit of a breather after we got out of that swamp. And so we stopped on the trailhead to take a break, and he either dropped something or saw something on the ground. We both had our shotguns, in slings across our back. And when he bent over, he was probably from you can't really get a good sense of direction. But just a few feet away from me, he bent over and his shotgun went off and shot me through the side, my lower left side. So took out my lower two ribs, spleen, kidney, hole in my diaphragm. I've got pellets from my heart still down in my hips.
Yeah.
And the kind of the most longest lasting of that was a T11 L2 spinal cord injury. So I had about a month stay in the ICU before they transferred me to the Shepherd Center, and I was there for about 5 months. And kind of in that stay was when I was really introduced to the track chair. They had a demo chair there. Gavin, the rec therapist there, put me in it and let me go around the campus. And just kind of immediately, I thought I went from being totally active to restricted to where that sidewalk would end. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, the world was open back up again. So um, that was kind of how I got introduced to the track chair. I knew somehow, some way, I was going to try to, get one for myself. We started kind of having that conversation with Gavin. Insurance doesn't cover them typically.
Right.
They've got a price tag at that point, was about kind of a starting point, about $15,000. And so um, we had two kids. We had a third that my wife was pregnant with at the time of the accident that was born while I was in Shepherd Center. So I knew with, a wife and three kids, not knowing what work was going to look like, anything like that.
Right.
Even if I had that kind of cash laying around, there wasn't any way that I'd be able to justify, spending that much on myself. And so um, we'd really put it out of our mind. I mean, I still kind of had it in the, maybe distant future. I was hoping to still come across one, but we got 25 acres here that we built on. And so I knew that there was some way that I was going to need to be able to get around and, help with chasing the kids and the animal and everything else. And so we started looking into, different things like golf cart or four wheeler, side by side, just to try to see if we could find something that was at least, more reasonably priced that would be able to ride on. And so we kind of budgeted about 5 grand was what we were going to spend. Um, and then from there, I literally had the money out of the bank, was ready to go make a purchase on something the next day. And my cousin from Indiana texted me a screenshot from Facebook Marketplace, and it was a track chair, older model, but I mean, it still did the job, and they're asking 5 grand for it. So
Wow.
God does.
God works in mysterious ways, man.
So it was meant to be. So I basically told him, if you can, I'll send you the money as quick as I can. If you could talk to that guy and try to get him to hold it. He's like, don't worry about it. I got it. We'll settle up when you get back up here for Thanksgiving or something. And so he did. He picked it up that very same day or very next day, held it for me till we got up there. And that was kind of the start of it all. I got
I,
into the thing and just kept using it to hunt and fish. And then the more that I'd use it, I kept running into people across town that would stop me, and I'd come out and they're taking pictures of it and trying to, be sneaky about it. So I'm like, yeah, that's whatever questions you got.
Right.
Conversations always go to the same place. How do you get a hold of one? How much they cost? That whole thing. So
Yep.
after about the fourth or fifth conversation with people, kind of having that same look in their face that I knew that was exactly how I was feeling in the Shepherd Center, we just kind of figured that there was. I basically went home, told my wife, I said, "What if we start loaning out my personal chair?" And so that was kind of the first talks of things, and then now it's snowballed into what it is now. So I'll kind of take a breather and let you. I know that was a lot. You said short and concise, and I kind of blew that away, but
Brother, that's one of the things, man. When you get going, if we got a good guest and they're on the go, there's no need in us stopping it, man. Let it be generic, dude. But
you go.
I know Greg's ready to go as well. But one of the things that's fantastic is all three of us ended up at Shepherd Center. Different types of injuries. Again, I operate off faith, man, and I know you do as well. I didn't ask to be in the position. God didn't ask my opinion. But for
Right.
whatever reason, he opened up an opportunity for you guys with Waymaker. And each step of the way, you can see, even based off of trying to get your own chair, the amount of money that you could budget at that time, he honored it. And, that started something absolutely amazing. But my question would be, you ended up at Shepherd Center after ICU, going through all that. Um, and I know the answer, but for giggles and being on a podcast, how well do you think going through a place like Shepherd Center prepared you for what we face daily?
Well, it was kind of an interesting time when I was at Shepherd there because that was the middle of COVID and everything else.
Right.
A lot of their structuring as to kind of the normal things, the outings, all that kind of stuff was a lot different than kind of most people's experience with them, probably.
Yeah.
But still, even so, I mean, they did what they could to get us out and take our likes. And I was shooting pellet guns through their gymnasium. I mean,
Yeah.
they had all kinds of crazy stuff going on that were just trying to connect you with, the things that they knew you liked to do and how you could figure out a way to still kind of incorporate those in the future and, not feel like you're stuck in the four walls of your house. So
Yeah.
it was definitely an atmosphere like no other. I came back home and tried to do a little bit of therapy and PT and stuff here. I quit it after I mean, insurance paid for it for the rest of the year, so I kind of continued it just because it was free. But after that, I was like, there's no value add for me to continue on when I could do this kind of stuff at home. And but it's just it's totally unique place. It's people that's got a heart that for that, and their talents all shine through. And it's just we had a just incredible experience there.
Jacob, you bring up a lot of good points, and it was definitely different for you during COVID because
Yeah.
I was there in '99, a long time ago, and we were able to get out in the community and do kind of community events. But I had the same experience shooting that air rifle in the gymnasium,
Yeah.
and that put me on a path of where I am today. It was such a motivator that I wasn't physically ready for it at the time, but it stayed in the back of my head that I can still do this. I can still get outdoors. And uh, being able to go through Shepherd Center, such a fantastic rehab, put me on a path that we're on today. And I'm just so thankful all these years later for my experience there.
Oh yeah.
I got you guys cooked though, because man, I went long ago, long before Jacob was even around, man. So I got hurt in '95, and one of the things that we did is they wanted us to get out and do outdoor activities, so they were pushing outings. And when I found out my insurance company would pay for all these outings, and they wanted us to do I think like three before they would discharge you. I think I did like 23 because one of the things was Braves games, right? 95, the Braves were cooking, man, and we ended up they won a World Series that year. So, hey, dude, I shot the same, across the gymnasium, and therapeutic rec was really good about getting involved. But man, I got to see the world champs out there for nothing.
And,
Absolutely.
and Mike, you bring up a good point about, the Atlanta Braves game. We always talk hunting and fishing and
Hmm.
outdoors on the show. But the great thing about those therapists at Shepherd was they found out what you were interested in
Right,
and what you wanted to do, and then they showed you the path possible. So
right.
it's not always hunting and fishing for guys, but we were all pretty young whenever we were injured, and we still loved the outdoors, and that was a big part of our background. But the therapist at Shepherd, it doesn't have to be hunting and fishing related. It can be something totally different.
Oh yeah.
That's what makes it crazy is we're right in the heart of Peachtree, in
Mhm.
downtown Atlanta, and we're talking about outdoor activities and blasting across a gymnasium and bringing in track chairs, and they didn't have track chairs when Greg and I were there. That was one of the newer things, but they had an Argo, and they brought it out there for us to try, and we even as a quad I hopped in it. The driving on the thing was just terrible. It drives like a tank. And then we ended up going that same year to Camp Aska that they have in Alabama,
Mhm.
and there was only three of us that they took out there, and I did some like water ski clinics, and Jacob, me and you haven't had this discussion, but I know Greg, we've had it over the years. I was in a four-man room with all paras, and I didn't understand the difference between a para and quad. So I wanted to get in a manual chair as fast as I could. And then, man, it took off from there, and I'm pushing with these guys and able to keep up with them as a C7 quad. But
Right.
but like you said, man, it's all about chasing your passions. They find out what you're about, and they had me. I was scuba diving, you name it. We were on it. But Shepherd at the time, I know it was different during COVID. They would wear you out all day with PT, OT, and then you'd get into therapeutic rec, and it's just about continuing to get back to living life. But um, so for the sake of the podcast too, so you guys started out with that one chair, and that compounded. So how many chairs are you guys currently up to?
So we currently have 31 chairs, and we see the last 2 years we've bounced around just a little over 12 to 1,300 people that have used them a year.
Yeah,
And so we had a few sidelined last year, so I mean we've got all those back. So we're expecting to really kind of be more in the 1,500 or so users a year, and so that counts. If somebody's got a chair, we deliver it to them. If they're a lot of people this time of year, taking beach trips and stuff like that. So if they're staying somewhere, we'll drop a chair off to them, totally free of charge to them. The chair's free of charge to use. Delivery is all included, and they can keep that chair up to a week at a time, typically, counting our
yeah.
business season. And so that counts as just like one use. So I mean, 12 to 1,500 with 30 some odd chairs, you can tell how much that means we're on the road. But
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
we partner with several of the state parks and also some county parks in Charleston. So we got about, I think we're around 10 locations when it's all said and done. We got a couple out coming on the western part of the state that we'll add in the upstate too. But around ten state park locations. So if somebody's just looking to take a day trip somewhere, they can, get on there and see the calendar, reserve a chair ahead of time, know that it's going to be there. Unlike, getting to Walmart and trying to fight for the daggum electric
Little
buggy
Yeah.
scooter.
may or may not
Right,
be there for you. We
right.
didn't want that experience. So we got everything where you can reserve it ahead of time. You know it's going to be waiting there for you. The staff there helps us with charging them and cleaning them and everything else. And so those are kind of the two different sides of the business. And then there's like, I guess the third spinoff, which is all these other groups that we partner with that put on adaptive hunts, adaptive hikes, um, adaptive fly fishing. I'm trying to think of what else we've done. I think that covers most of it, but that's probably anywhere from 10 to 15 groups a year that we'll get chairs out to and take the trailer full of them. Sometimes we've got the trailer and the van smaller trailer behind it, so we can get up to 15 chairs for those kind of events. So we can block them all off and support some bigger events like that too. So it's been cool to see you get, taking a chair to somebody that uses it by themselves or with their family, that's really cool. But when you have 5, 10, 15 individuals all out there,
Right.
same thing, that's kind of when it gets really exciting and really fun. Just the community side of it. You got people interacting with each other, making new friendships.
Definitely. And
Just
and one of the things that you didn't mention, Jacob, that I wanted to make sure I mentioned was you don't have to be paralyzed to use your chairs.
No.
So,
Mm.
when we're dealing with a lot of elderly people or people with mobility issues, you're opening up a whole new world that they can go out there and explore with their family or,
Mm.
get out with their kids maybe for the first time.
right.
Anyone with any mobility issues, you
Right.
cater to, and not a lot of groups do that. So I wanted to make sure people knew that the chairs were available for, mom and dad or granddad and grandma, that if they
Yep.
want to participate on the beach and or in the mountains, go hiking, that's available all through your organization.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've, just any kind of mobility challenge or physical challenge. We got people that have had like congestive heart failure that would, that
Right.
walk the long distance or, all those kinds of things. And so, yeah, we get a lot of stories from people that are, used to booking a place in a resort with ocean front so they could see the kids from the balcony or the grandkids or whoever. But they'll be telling us stories. This is the first time in 5, 10,
Yeah.
15 years that I've been able to not just be stuck on the balcony, but get down there and actually play with them, take pictures with them, be by the ocean, feel the breeze, just all those things.
Yeah.
Just, um, it is
Amazing.
really cool when you get to hear some of those stories and the feedback and the pictures that some people send us. And, we try to share all that we get through the social media channels that we offer. We're
Right.
trying to get a little bit better with that, but Facebook, Instagram for the most part, I'm trying to
It
maybe
it's
mess around with
it's
TikTok.
difficult, man, to try to show the amount of impact that these things offer.
Right.
And when you first get hurt, you're going through a mourning process of, who I was prior to my injury. And I the folks that don't know it, you've had some great gains and you've come back a long way and you're able to get up and walk, and so the injury's still there. You're still going to have some lingering lifelong issues, but you've had a great comeback. Um, and so what we're looking at is a lot of times people don't understand the amount of freedom that something like that opens up. And so you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about respite care, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times we would see guys sidelined. They would see the family that were not interacting with the family. And when
Right.
I got my first track chair in 2014, it was the first time that I could get to a pier that I'd seen for years. And within minutes, I'm sitting at that pier. And you talk about an accomplishment, you're like, holy crap, man, this thing has been out of my reach for years. And then instantly, I'm not only able to get on the beach, hold my wife's hand, walk down the beach, independently. They got the big beach PVC chairs, but it's just an oversized stroller, man. And I'm not
I'll
knocking
say
it
the same
because,
thing.
right, it gets somebody out if that's all they want to do is just be on the. But it's a stroller and very difficult because now you're having to have somebody in your family or your party push you around. So I mean, it's work.
Mhm.
Um, and where
Mike,
I
I,
was, I
I,
was
I,
just going to say it was, it's one of those things. I could be independent and roll, and I could help my wife carry stuff.
Right.
So,
I, I just want to throw out there, Mike, that it probably takes two or three family members
oh
to push
yeah,
that beach chair because I don't know if people are familiar with them, but they got the big gray, balloon tires, and
right.
you roll down to the water pretty easily, but you don't roll back up that berm very easily at the end of the day, and it will wear out your family members if you're trying to use those
Whether
sprint,
they don't turn,
they do
they
Right.
not
got no way
turn,
to
they do not
articulate.
steer.
So you
It,
Yeah.
got to
My
pick it up and bounce around the corner, or jack a wheelie up and try to turn you, man. It's an oversized monster shopping cart.
yeah.
in theory, it sounds good, but it is nothing like a track chair to
No,
get down on the beach. And
no.
for a lot of folks that are they're traveling down south, Jacob, they don't have a way to take their track chair that they may have or their
Mm,
mobility device on vacation with them. And I got to tell you, thank you for all that you guys do because you're really opening up the outdoors and getting families together. and making memories. And I know one of the big things that whenever I go on vacation with my family, I love to take pictures and be involved. And it's not only that week's vacation, but for years to come when my cell phone pops up that memory, and I have a picture with my grandkids and things like that. It's just amazing. And the things that you do for people, I know you realize how important it is, but man, it's just life changing.
I
Mm.
appreciate it. Yeah, I was just to backtrack a little. We had with my accent being Christmas Eve, we had all the family. Everybody was at the house, waiting basically for me and my brother to get back from hunting so we could go
Right.
to the other Christmas festivities. But
Right.
so when that didn't happen, they basically decided they weren't having Christmas till I got out of the hospital. So come to find out, they didn't know it
Heck yeah.
make it till June. So our first experience was a beach trip in July, and that was before we had the track. I got the tractor in August or September, I think, of that year. But yeah, so I mean, my siblings are all played some level of, college athletics, to a degree. So, they were all in shape. They're all, you know, my sisters are all tall. Everybody's, more than physically capable. And so it still took two of them trying to,
Yeah.
that chair
Yep.
turn to get me to the beach. And it's a common misconception that everybody starts looking for a beach wheelchair, and that's the one that everybody recommends. But until you're in
Yeah.
it, a wheelchair is supposed to give you some independence and freedom. And yeah,
Nah.
otherwise it's classified as a stroller. So
Yes.
we did do that. But yeah, it's been just a blast. We got a lot of people that do their first, but then we've also got the other side of the spectrum where we've got a lot of people that we've had that have done their last. So
Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah.
somebody reaches out that they want to help grandma or whoever, or we just, with the nature of our injuries that um unexpected stuff happens sometimes. We had
Sure.
one of the guys that I was always most excited to take a chair to every year. He used it year after year. I mean, he was younger than me, and so he passed away kind of unexpectedly. So, but we
Yeah.
got those memories; those families can hold on to them, where it's they didn't even
Yes,
know at
sir.
the time, but it ended up being the last time that they were able to do it, and have the pictures and the memories, like you said, just to be able to reflect on and everything else is it's not just even life changing for that individual, but for their families as well. And so it's been really
Yep.
cool just to be able to have a small part in providing that for so many people now.
Well, man, you guys are doing such a great job, man. And you don't want to make it sound condescending or anything like that, but we're kind of blessed here in South Carolina in that we've got that. You guys you're doing them. You're bringing them to a ton of hunts. We're able to interact with stuff. I know you guys just left Shepherd Center. You're able to go down and do a meet and greet kind of day and introduce those to it. So, not only it's full circle. And you went from being an alumni there to now you're a facilitator. And so it's a phenomenal opportunity for a monster device for absolutely free. Um, and so I guess I got a twofold question. One, I know the answer to it, but I want the folks to know. One, where does the funding come from? How do you guys usually typically raise it? And then two, what do you see as the biggest downfall or detriment to the business model going forward?
So, kind of for those that aren't as familiar with kind of our group, we're basically a family run operation right now. So dad does
Mhm.
and handles most of the deliveries. He works part way to the beach anyway, so a lot of times he'll take a trip and um, do that side of it. I handle all the maintenance and the paperwork and the running the websites and all the not as fun stuff.
Good, fun, hard stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes I need a break and I'll take a drop off with him just to be able to interact with somebody. But so there's that side of it, and so neither him nor I are into not into, but skilled with and comfortable with going up to somebody and just saying, "Hey, I need X amount of dollars or whatever."
Right.
We've had to force ourselves to start to become that way from time to time for different things, but a lot of our funding comes from that pays all the not fun bills, all the gas that goes in the truck and the insurance, everything else. From we got different kind of monthly sponsors. Some people doing a ton, some people $5. I mean, but it all
Right.
adds up to help make sure that there's a
Hmm.
steady flow that we can make kind of the plans on for things. Um, every once in a while, we get some local businesses that'll jump on that'll become a sponsor at different tiers. And then the third level is now that, with the 501(c)(3) status, we can apply for some grants and stuff like that, which those kind of, I guess, is part two to your question with the kind of the downfall and detriment. a lot of those can be cyclical. You
Yeah.
you may get them all in 1 year, and then there's a 2 or 3 year waiting period where you can't apply for them again. So we
Yeah.
may have 1 year where we do really well and don't have to worry about anything because we hit all these grants. But then it's like, well, now we've got 2 or 3 years to, grind,
Yes.
figure out some different ways. And like I said, with me and him, just as much as we're doing, we don't have the capacity right now. We keep saying it year after year that we want to do it. But trying to put together just like an organized fundraiser,
Yeah.
which will have twofold benefits. Obviously, the raising the money part, but then the bigger part to me is, um, you can't explain a tractor to somebody over the phone effectively.
No.
I don't know how many times we've tried calling. We first couple of years we started calling these hotels and stuff ahead of time just to make sure that they were understanding what was about to happen and be there on their facility and everything else. You can't explain a mini tank to somebody over the phone and have them get a
Yeah.
accurate picture that it's not going to like destroy everything they own. So that's kind of been one of the biggest difficulties of it. So having a fundraiser where people can put their eyes on a track chair, sit in it, feel its capabilities, ride it around, the either the farm here or wherever we would host it, to be able to kind of understand how they operate. I feel like would be a big advantage to, just those people getting a better idea as to what it is,
Mm.
feeling like it's something they can support. I don't know if you've seen some of the drama, but we've got, um, a hotel that's not been so cooperative,
Yes.
this past month that has now been the one that we've had one or two other instances, but typically we can get high enough up the totem pole to get somebody that's got a brain that
Yeah.
the proper decision. But with this one, it hadn't been. And so that kind of stuff can be difficult with trying to, like I said, understand it, but then also, be able to fight for not so much our place, but just the person that's going to book a stay there that, hopes to be able to use a track chair, be able to have vacation time with their family. So, um,
Sir, it's a chance to advocate and to educate the people in the general public that, number one, don't understand the benefits of mobility freedom and the life-changing decisions that they're making when they say we don't want a track trailer on the property.
right,
Uh, and it's really lack of education on their part as to the capabilities of the chair, what that chair is going to do, getting in and out of the property. They're assuming that it's going to tear everything up, but really it's not, and it's all about education.
right.
And it was sad to see that on Facebook, Jacob, that one resort would have a negative response, but it was so joyous to see the community and everyone rally around and say, "Hey, let's rethink this. What are we actually talking about here, guys?"
Right. Yeah, hopefully they come around and figure it out, but it's like I said, if if it they would have a different perspective and different tune probably if it was their dad, their mom, their
Yes.
son,
Yes,
their daughter, their grandma,
Yep.
that were themselves needing, the
Sure.
statistics don't lie that, we don't have terrible odds that somebody's going to be having some mobility challenge at some point in their life. And so,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
You're
they'll
just
find
trying
it
to
out the
change
hard way one day, but
mindsets, man.
right. It's
It that's what advocacy is about. It's not always a negative thing.
right.
And we try to do it on a very positive level. But when guys like him come in and they have such a nasty skew, it's great to see the community come together around it. And
Sure.
if that's the way he wants to play games, then that's the way we'll take care of it. But what he's not seeing is the human aspect of it and how many doors you guys are opening for
Right.
somebody not only to make memories, but to be mobile, independently mobile on a terrain that is difficult for anybody to get around. And
Yeah.
so we'll continue to blackball dude until, if nothing else, monetarily, they just see you guys are doing something that is against community.
Right.
And and we're just trying to do the right thing.
So what's frustrating is it's not like the first time we've had a chair there. We've had chairs there multiple times up until now without incident. There's not been
Yeah,
anything. They put new tile in the building, which I think was the catalyst that threw it all off. They used to let us keep it in the lobby there, and they got new tile. Understandably, don't want on the new tile. It's not going to hurt anything. It would clean right off, but
right.
whatever. But they've got a parking garage that's more than, I mean,
Yeah.
it's something to,
there's definitely ways to accommodate a track chair and charging. And I know I've taken my track chair out west and was staying in hotels because the hunting lodge was not accessible.
Yeah.
And I would, talk to the hotel manager and pull it inside and plug it in, or
Mhm.
pull my trailer on the back of my van close to the hotel and run an extension cord out.
Yeah.
This is in November, because if you're using a track chair all day, you got to charge that baby up before the next day's hunt. So you
Yep.
either do it in your hotel room or alongside in the parking lot. But I've been to hotels that were super accommodating, like down in Maryland. The hotels just can't be more accommodating. I drove my chair right into the room and plugged it in, and they didn't have a thing to say about any of the leaves or anything. And I'm always pretty cautious about, cleaning off the mud and cleaning off the leaves and stuff. And I'm sure your participants are conscious of the sand, as well, trying to do the right thing. But when you get to these beach resorts, the doors a lot of times on these condos are not adequate even for a regular wheelchair. So there's no other alternative but to find a place to plug that chair into.
Yep. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just it's sad that you got to that we're in 2026 and still have to fight so hard just to have, an equal opportunity. I mean, it's negative not only for that, but it's condos owned by private individuals in that complex, and you may have somebody that's set up a whole accessible unit to be
Right.
accommodating to those types of individuals that now they're not going to have
Yep.
business. So I'm
Right.
hoping
Right.
that eventually some of those speak up and get their place to be able to, have their voice in their internal HOA. And, I don't have the capacity or the
Right.
energy or even legal resources to really try to go that avenue. But I think there's enough people behind it that have making their voice heard that I've already been threatened by their group with, slander and libel and whatever else. But I mean,
Why?
at the end
Brother,
of it
you ain't
all,
doing
Jeez.
that but
telling
telling it how it
the
is.
exact story and truth as to what they told us word for word, and
That's right.
they won't want to correct it, and we were waiting for it. If they want to correct it and change their tune, we're more than happy to publish that. But until then, we've
Right.
got to be able to share what we're told. We don't want somebody to pay for a vacation and show up and
Nope.
end
Not
up
have
Can't get it.
access.
having it
Yep.
ruined.
Yep. And
Jake,
that's the kicker, man. It is what it is. The narrative's not changing. I mean, you
Right.
said it.
Jacob, I want to take a different turn, because I'm looking at your background, and you've got, more than your share of turkey fans back there and a nice buck. And I was just wondering if you wanted to talk maybe about your experience getting back outdoors after your injury in 2020. You were what, still 25, and obviously loving the outdoors. But how did you get back into hunting personally, and what's your season starting off like that way?
Well, me and my brother were making plans to go duck hunting again while I was still in Shepherd Center. So I mean, that was kind of how
Love it,
it
man.
tells you enough. We were making plans and already figuring out how we were going to make it work. So we've got some private access. I do a lot now on public land here. So I've got a tractor for myself that I've converted to lithium batteries, so I can go about 10 miles through public land on it here. So I can outrun a lot of those guys that are out there anyway. But
Right.
it's been cool. There's been the mule deer at the back there. That one was a cool opportunity with oh gosh,
Wyoming. Yep.
Wyoming Disabled Sportsman, I think's
Yes, sir.
Yep.
and so I went out with them. They got a cancellation last minute. They called me and had me come out there, and so I shot that with my 450 Bushmaster. I wasn't supposed to be rifle hunting at all, and I dropped my 30-06 like the day before I was supposed to fly out. The 450 was the only thing I had sighted in still, and so I took it because I was supposed to be crossbow hunting anyway. They just told me to bring a rifle just in case. And turns out they had to give the bow spot to somebody else that couldn't manage a gun or whatever, and so we popped that guy at about 180 yards with the 450 out the window.
Wow.
That shoot from vehicle permit. So
Right.
that was
Right.
awesome time. The turkey, the Eastern down there in the corner was with Hope Outdoors. That was the first group reel I got into with. I met a buddy actually through the Shepherd Center. We had the same nurse. He went through about a year before I did. And the nurse connected us, shared our contact. We started talking in the hospital, and that was the first hunt we'd really met and got together on. Killed my first Eastern longbeard. I had a Jake when I was a kid that's kind of the bottom fan hanging there, but that was the first longbeard I'd killed, and it was all post accident. And then me and him now we get together a couple times a year to hunt with each other. We've done did the Rio in Texas 2 years ago. That's in the corner there. I've got Osceola we killed last year in Florida.
Yeah,
The group that just offered to take me and him for free, so we couldn't turn that down.
right.
And so we killed the Osceola last year. And so here in May, we're going to be heading up to South Dakota to try to
Miriam's.
close the
Slam.
deal for the Merriam, and that'll
Yes,
be our
sir.
slam over the last several years. But it's been a blast. I mean, I've learned probably more so after my accident as far as the hunting wise is the patience. We don't have the
Yeah.
Yes.
opportunity to run and gun or chase a bird down or do a whole lot of moving and trying to slip up on something. And so really I've got a lot more just with the patience of being forced to have to be stuck where I'm at sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, we're professional sitters, as I
That's
like to
right.
say. So I can sit in my kitchen or I can sit in a ground blind. So I've got a lot of patience that I didn't have as a young man. I just sit and wait. They'll
Yeah.
eventually come out. I mean, if you
Oh
give them
yeah.
long enough and you stay quiet.
Right.
Me and
Yeah.
Jacob, man, we've been able to hunt together, and dude, I've seen it, Greg. So not this last year, but the year before, we were doing a pheasant hunt with Hands of a Sportsman, and Jacob shot a pheasant that was coming over, and dang, landed in his lap.
Oh man.
You can't make it up. So I'm looking over. He pulls the trigger. This thing just flops right in his lap. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, somebody gifted that thing to him. But you described everything except for the ducks, man. Where'd those come from?
Those are actually, so that one, and I got one over here in the corner on this side. Those were the two that I killed the morning of my accident.
I
So
was gonna ask.
they were in
Awesome.
the, like I said, it was my first duck hunt, so I don't know what I was doing. But I had a turkey vest. I figured, well, it's got some enough pockets and,
Yeah,
pouches and everything else to help carry crap through the swamp. So I had it on and had the ducks. I'd stuck them in the back of the turkey vest and, had my accident. They loaded me in the ambulance, cut everything off from the front. But,
right.
that vest was still on my back in the ambulance. And so they finally got my dad, made it to the hospital and everything else. And they took him a bag of all of my, all my belongings and clothes and everything else. And they said, we got one more thing we can't bring through the hospital. We've got rules against that.
Yeah,
But he's thinking, ammunition or my firearm or
right.
pistol that I had on my side or, something. And they hand him a evidence bag with two wet
Dead
Ducks.
ducks.
so,
Yeah.
So they rescued you and your ducks.
they did. They saved the duck. I was upset about the ducks at the time. I thought
Oh yeah.
I was really wanting to mount the first one that I'd kill. That's kind of what I've done. Tennessee, I killed two more species that I hadn't killed before, Drake. So I'm trying to make a little, down the fireplace. I got to convince my wife to let me move outside this little office, but um, get some of my ducks flying down the wall, and so kind of keep adding on to that.
I,
Yeah.
I'm guessing you got a very understanding wife that loves you very much and supports you in the
For
outdoors and
the
everything that you're
most
doing.
part, as
Yes,
long as it
sir.
stays in the office, she's supportive. But
Right, right. That's how mine is, Jacob. She won't let me bring out mounts can only go so far.
yeah,
Got
she said you've got that 30 by 50 shot you've got to go out to next. And I said
Yeah.
that's not quite the same. They're not as protected out there. But
got
Nah.
the
I don't
coyote
want
on the side I killed him the very first time back in the woods that I got home after my accident. So he'd come out and I popped him and just mounted him just for, you know,
Yeah.
memory's sake of always being a reminder that didn't give up. And that was kind of
yes,
the first
sir.
opportunity. So it's kind of cool. My little boy, he got all excited. He killed one last year on Youth Day. We went out there and he killed a bird that had four beards and about a little over inch and a quarter spurs. And so my taxidermy bill this past year is
you,
not healthy,
Jacob,
not good.
taxidermy is expensive, but memories are forever, dude. And
That's right.
you can take a year to pay off that taxidermy bill, but you want to make sure you got them done. And I'm so glad you showed us the ducks that
Mhm.
stayed with you and just how to overcome such a situation. And I have that as a fond memory of you and your brother out in your first ducks. And
Yeah.
I gotta say I'm looking at four mounts here in my bedroom, so I got a pretty good wife that doesn't mind deer heads in the bedroom, along with some other stuff. But taxidermy, you can't go wrong. It's just every time you look at it, you think of a different memory, or you have people over and they'll say, "Well, how'd you get this one?" And then you get to tell the story again, and
Yeah.
it's just an incredible reminder of being in the outdoors.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, built this house with her and she's kind of pushed against it. I said, babe, why do you think we've vaulted the ceilings in the living room and
Right.
the we got to have
That
some
was
room.
strategic. Yeah.
That's for
We
the upcoming elk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That's my go-to, dude. I've got that high ceiling and
Yep.
stone fireplace. It's perfect. It's meant to be. I just
That's
got to
right.
drop it. So in that avenue, what kind of hunts are you looking at this year, man? I know, turkey season's starting up, dude. We're on them.
Yep. Yeah, turkey opens up here for us tomorrow. So
Yep.
me and my little boy, we scouted a new spot on public. Went to listen for some gobbles actually yesterday morning. We heard 4 or 5 different birds, so we're excited to hopefully be like a duck race to the hole. There was a lot of footprints at e-bike tracks, so we're going to try to see if we can't stake our spot and get in there
Yeah.
early. My brother's going to join us. He's never killed a bird before, so between him and my little boy, I think I'll probably be third on the trigger, depending on how it goes. But it'll be all right.
Yes, sir.
Be a cool experience.
Oh yeah.
You guys be hunting out of a ground blind, Jacob, or just kind of sitting with some back cover?
I'm not sure yet. You stay with him last weekend. We took a ground blind out and we had a come around the corner in a road bed and there was a gobbler down there about 150 yards or so. And the process of getting the whole ground blind popped up and set up and everything else kind of
Yeah,
I think messed us up. I've got one ground blind that I had a side that got messed up on it, so I cut the top off of it and that bad side. So I've got basically 3 panels.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thinking about taking it because I can spread it out wide enough then that we'd all have kind of a spot, and as long as we got some good back cover, it would kind of be kind of a best of both scenarios. It's lighter weight, it's easy to pop up real
Yeah.
quick, and
Mike, you have something like that, don't you? It's just
Yeah.
like a screen almost that you
Yeah.
set in front of your chair.
Cabela's made one. It's called a Easy. Uh, Man, I'm going blank. Easy something. It's just a 3 panel stick in the ground,
Mhm.
just enough to block off the front of your chair and make that bulk go away. But I know Jacobs, man. Me and him talked about it last year, the year before. He's eased in a couple spots and being low to the ground. You can pretty much call to the birds and they don't know what to do with us anyway.
Yeah, I had one last year was my first public bird, and I'd heard him gobble, kind of struck him up late morning and heard him gobble down. Looking at Onyx, I was trying to figure out exactly where he was coming from, and it looked like on the neighbor's spot next to public there was a little food plot, and I said, "Ah, he's got to be out there strutting." But it was late enough that I said, "Hopefully he's lost his hens." And me and him called back and forth for probably 40 minutes before I finally was like, "Man, I'm getting to where I got to get back. I got work to do. I got things I got to be doing." I was like, "I hate to leave him, but at least I know he's there." And I had no sooner started packing up, and all right, I had a blind with me. I don't think I had it set up, so I was just kind of waiting to see what he was going to do. But he gobbled about half the distance, so I knew he was coming. He was coming quick, so I, found the closest fork tree that there was happened to be nearby that I snuck behind real quick, and he popped his head up. And the second he jumped onto that road bed, that the fire break, he was a DOA. But he
You let him have it, huh?
that's right.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, man. Let the lay of the land take care of the
Yep.
rest.
Jacob, what style of calls do you like for turkey hunting? Because you're obviously successful at it. Are you a slate guy, a box guy, diaphragm caller, or how do you like to call in your birds?
So I keep some of each, because sometimes you'll just hit something that's got the right tone that just happens to resonate with a gobbler. And my primary is always a mouth call. I like to have it. Just we've got
Yeah,
enough while trying to control with our hands between the chairs and the guns and my kids and
Right.
everything. But mouth call I got pretty decent at. And so when that's not working though, sometimes I will hit the box. It sometimes that's a little louder and it just got a pitch that sometimes will make one strike.
yep,
And then if my little boy's with me, I've got him on the slate call sometimes. He likes to be able to purr on that thing and practice a little bit. So I do carry all three for the most part. I've also got, I forget what it's called, bombshell or something by Primos. It's a little
Yeah, I
box
was
that's
just
just
getting
got like
ready
a
to say
little
it.
little
trigger
push
on it.
button
I've got
call
one of
like.
those that I tried, and it seems like it does pretty well too. That's real easy for the kids, especially to yelp
Oh
off
yeah,
purr with. And so I keep a whole little arsenal with me. You just never know what you might need. But typically,
Right.
I can usually do it with the mouth call, but sometimes sometimes you need a little extra.
I was just thinking about that. You told me about that little scratch call. I don't even know what you call it, but you kind of pinch it together. But
Mhm.
I got to pull it out, man, because as soon as you showed me the one you had, I went online, ordered one, and I've got it outside. I got all
Yeah,
my stuff together, but I just like, man, as soon as you said it, I was like, crap, I
yeah,
got to grab that thing.
yeah.
Uh,
Because I've noticed there's a couple of quads that I've shown it to and stuff like that that have at least a little bit of hand dexterity, but you can't like grasp a pencil good to be able to use a striker or
Right.
Yep.
hold a paddle with both hands to be able to do it. But that thing, all you got to do is just get it in that palm, and you don't have to move it much, and you can
Yeah.
make it make some noise. So it's kind of really they didn't mean for it to be, but it's kind of a little accessible turkey call.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, and I know some guys will even attach a string to it and mount it to the front of their barrel, and then they can
Yep.
pull back on that string a little bit. But
Yep.
we all kind of make things work, and now's the time of year where we're practicing in our kitchen and driving our spouses crazy,
Oh
and
yeah.
our
Yeah.
season doesn't end till next month, so I'm breaking out the diaphragm calls and getting after it, and my neighbors are probably hating me, and my wife just shakes her head. She's used to it, but practice makes almost perfect sometimes.
That's right.
Hey man, you got to do what you got to do. We kind of modify everything, and I love a box call, and Greg already knows this, man. I got them set up that, I, Jacob, I'm a. It sounds terrible, man. I'm trying to do everything as a quad, so I throw my shotgun buttstock on my leg. I've got
Mhm.
a box call that is velcroed to my left hand, so I'll run the box call real quick, pick the gun up, and then I'm trying to self film. So I got a GoPro attached to my forehead. It's just like, why, dude? We don't have to do all of it,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
But it's
Jeez.
fun. It's fun, man, trying to get it in. But um, so question for you:
Mhm.
if there's a species out there that is your go-to, that you're excited to get on but haven't yet, what's that gonna be?
I mean, I'd obviously probably like most guys, I'd love to get an elk. I don't know
Yeah,
the logistics of all that and trying to, public's probably not, just not being familiar with any of that kind of terrain or anything like that is kind of a daunting task. But that's definitely one that's hanging out there that I'd like to do. We got family back in Indiana that I'd focused too much on basketball when I was living up there as a kid and not as much on hunting. And I'd love to get back
right.
chasing Indiana whitetails and stuff, but I hadn't been able to pull that back off yet. But one of these days we'll get back up there and do that. But yeah, just enjoying it. Any part of it that gets me outside gets me excited. So
Yeah,
Sir.
I hadn't found
We
anything yet that wasn't fun to chase after.
chase. Right.
you've got the ceiling for the elk, so
That's right.
you plan real well for it. Um, Jacob, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way? How should they contact your organization, and tell us a little bit about that?
So for Waymaker, we've got a website, waymakeroffroadwheelchairs.com, no hyphens, no special characters, anything like that. And in that site, there'll be two different ways that you can go. One that'll let you reserve a state park track chair, which will take you to all those links and calendars. And then the other one says something like reserve now up to a week at a time or something like that. That gets all the information to my scheduler to get everybody else that's wanting to use a chair. And then some aside from that, we've got different other, contact us links and stuff in there, and all that pretty much goes directly to my personal cell phone, whether it be through the email or the actual phone number. There's my text message and my personal cell phone number. So that's the easiest way. Like I said, we try to do a little bit on social media when we can and share pictures and stories and testimonials and stuff through Facebook primarily. Also trying to shift a lot of that over to Instagram and maybe TikTok, depending on how all
Yeah,
that goes. But um, we are trying to get a little bit better at that. Just like I said, it's hard for people to visualize it when you don't know what that whole
Right.
world's like. And
and
so
and typically, Jacob, how long should somebody lead time if they're going on a beach vacation in South Carolina? When is the best time to schedule? How far out do you do that, and what do you recommend?
definitely always kind of rule of thumb is just as soon as you've got a place that you're looking to book, make sure you contact us. Uh, Once you get into like some holiday times, 4th of July week obviously gets slammed really quick. So if you're trying to do a big weekend like that, um, I would say is a few months in advance probably would make sure you get a spot. But as far as the day to day goes, usually within a week or so, we have something that opens up. We have people cancel last minute for different reasons, health concerns, whatever else. So something will usually open up if week or two in advance. The
Yeah.
state park chairs, they can go a lot quicker. A lot of those kind of run about a 2 week booked up window. Then after that, they stay pretty open. So it is. I mean, it's a limited resource and it's a popular resource down to more and
Yes,
more
sir.
finding out about it.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, I'm meeting with DNR next week, and we were talking about a couple things and trying to talk more about advocacy and change. And
Mhm.
I was going to reach out to you. I know you passed that along, and Greg passed it along about certain states working together to try to get a multitude of chairs. And I just wanted to see if they had any aspirations of doing something like that.
Right.
And so we can just broaden that opportunity for more and more people to get out there because these are finite devices, but at the same token, um, I guess what most people don't know this that you have a heck of a maintenance bill just for people putting them in salty, sandy environments, but sometimes just doing stupid stuff. I tell people all the time, treat it like it's yours.
Right.
And I know you and I have had this discussion. Guys, don't sink these things. They're wheelchair friendly. They're environmental friendly. They're not going to tear up the berms and dunes and they do a good job, but at the same time, don't try to submerge them. They're not
Right.
flotation devices,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and treat it with the same dignity you would your own. These
And
these guys or girls are doing something for free that no other state really does, and South Carolina is just blessed. Treat it right so we don't have that go away.
yes.
Yeah. But it's unfortunate, but we did have a couple more kind of deliberate, occasionally stuff
Wow.
happens by accident, but we did have one guy, he texted me and asked if it could go in the water. I texted him back in less than 10 minutes. But
Right.
that was too late. He didn't wait. He went ahead and did his own thing. And so after all that, we've just had to kind of resort to, we've got basically a new internal policy in place that you get one strike and one strike only. If we find
Right.
it's intentional, you're not getting one again. And that's unfortunate, but there's just so many more people that want one, that are going to take care of it, that are excited about
Right.
it. You tear up a chair, it costs us money, it costs us time, and it costs more people the opportunity to use it. So
Exactly.
Exactly. And
it's worth it
it,
more for us to those other 5, 10, 20, 100 people to have that opportunity than it is you. So
Yeah.
and
sounds
and you
harsh,
said
but
it
it
you
is.
said at the beginning of the podcast, Jacob. I mean, these chairs are in excess of $15,000. This is
Right.
not a cheap piece of equipment that you can be reckless with. I mean, they provide such an opportunity to get outdoors, but you got to be respectful of it, and you got to be respectful of the person that's coming after you, or your dad that has to clean that off and repair it and get it back out in the outdoors. So, if you are using your service, by all means, treat it with respect, and as Mike said, treat it like it's your own, and you're writing the check for that $15,000.
All right.
Yeah. It makes it difficult, man, because they don't have any meat in the fire when it really comes down to it. But they don't understand that Jacob's got the thing tore down, trying to replace bearings and sitting on the ground, replacing tracks and pieces, and the ECMs go out, and the whole chair is just a paperweight,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
it makes it difficult.
he had his phone hanging around his chest on like a pendulum kind of case sort of thing, to keep his phone dry. He messed up his phone and everything. So he's lucky that he didn't get stranded, and that could be a serious thing,
Absolutely.
stuck in the water, strapped into that thing, and it's not a good day for anybody. So it's a safety
It is.
concern, but it's also just a responsibility, that we expect people to, yeah, like I said, treat it like your own is sometimes dangerous too, but
Yeah.
Treat it like it's Jacob's. That's what we should be
right,
saying,
yeah,
right? Treat it like it's
that's right.
Jacob's. Well, buddy, this hour goes by so quickly in a podcast. But I've been following you for a long time, and I got to tell you, it was so nice talking with you and interacting like this. And would you be willing to come back on the podcast at a later date? Because I know we got lots to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime.
Next time I've been blessed, man. Jacob's got a great family. He'll have to bring his little ones on, but hey, tell your dad and them we said, hey, we miss seeing you guys, and we look forward to bumping into you again on some activities. But we'll have to link up, man. I got a couple good ideas. But is there anything you want to leave anybody with? And say like you got somebody that's a newer injury, man. What would you tell them in the spinal cord world?
Yeah, for me personally, it was my faith was the primary thing that helped
Yeah.
get me through it. And so I feel like if you don't have that, that's as good a place to start as any.
Mm.
You know, we're on this big spinning globe in the middle of everything and all the chaos and everything that has to go right just for our all existence. I'm never one to believe that it happened by accident. So
Nah.
it's like I said, my faith's important. It's the only reason really we do what we do. God got me out of the woods that day, and I believe very strongly He put me in that position just because if He laid out that plan and gave me a choice, I don't think I would have picked it. Obviously, it was a lot of pain and heartache and everything else, but the flip side is how exciting and how just life changing it's been for not only all the people that use it, but for myself and my family and everything else. And so we're all stronger and better for it. Our faith is stronger, our family bond is stronger. And so definitely I'd say the faith part is paramount. That's the only thing that I could think to really leave somebody with that would be of any value, really. We get people that reach out all the time wanting to try to duplicate what we do in other states, and they want to know my business plan and everything else. And I tell them, I said it's a three-letter word is our fundraising program right now, and everything else, and it's God. And it's not because I'm good at asking for money. I'm terrible at it. Matter of fact, I've had strangers pull up in my driveway and cut checks, and I can't explain
Yep.
other than God working through not only me but also other people that share that vision and share that perspective on the importance of being to be able to get people back outside and enjoying His creation.
Greg, is there anything you got, man, that you want to close this out on? I mean, it's hard to follow up with that.
It is hard to follow that, but faith and family, and Jacob, your family has done so much for others, and it was your vision that got this started, that you had a track chair yourself and you didn't want to keep that in your garage. You wanted to share that experience with others, and you actually put it out there that, people could use this. And now you got 31 chairs and you're dealing with 1,500 people a year. Brother, I thank you for everything you've done and that you're doing, and I hope you get that elk. And I can't wait to talk with you again. But folks, we appreciate you tuning into the Accessible Hunter podcast today, and it's stories like this that Mike and I love to do this every week. So follow us, and we appreciate you.